Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Triad Expeditions, and in this episode we are going to be installing some KC Cyclone LED accessory lights as dome lights. So these are the diffused model. You can get them about any color you really want to. Some of them are completely clear and some of them have the diffused option. So that's what these are, is the diffused option. They are the 1351 diffused lens, so hopefully that helps you find them a little bit easier. There is not Amazon links below, so don't go looking for them. But yeah, so anyways, one of the interesting facts that a lot of folks will say, it says 6 colors is what they're limited to, and it is a flood beam. One of the things that people commonly will refer to these Cyclone lights is that KC had originally designed them or offered them to source them, whatever the case is, for Baja racers and the race community that utilizes KC lights for a dome light. So this is sort of what some people say the original intention of these lights were. So that is in fact what we're going to be utilizing them today. And just a couple things here to kind of explain. So our last video that we just completed was the video where we completed our Switch Pro installation there in the middle. And so let's put some light on this subject. Basically utilize that Switch Pro. We've already designated switch 1 as the dome light switch, so that will be the handy one to get to in the top left corner. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to run the wire across the seat support there. So basically this 2-inch bar right there, to get from the Switch Pro over to the location where we're going to run it, also along the roll bar here, and probably exterior mount here on the B post, what commonly in the automotive world is called the B post. We'll probably exterior mount this, put some screws in this panel. Don't think there's anything behind there, but we'll check to make sure. We know there's no airbags back there, so we're not worried about that. And then we'll come up this post here. We'll put all the wire in wire loom, and you really can't see underneath here too well, so I'll just stop right there and get busy and show you sort of how it works out and some of the choices that I make, and then eventually we'll show you the end result. So that's kind of how this video is going to go. Alright, so these are some components that we have purchased to kind of make the installation of the dome light a little bit easier. And also we are going to be utilizing these components when we do our roof rack lights, both our floodlights and our spotlights. So basically what these are is they're like miniature junction boxes, and we are going to use our rubber coated 312 wire and run them into these junctions here, or these jam style water resistant connections here, and then make our connections inside the box. One of the beauties of this is that if you need to add a additional light or additional connection, you can do that. And then something here that's going to make it even easier. So obviously we have 2 polarities, positive and negative, and initially here with our KC lights we're going to try to just use 2 of those, but maybe in the future we might want to put an additional 2 of them in the front. And so one of the things that this really allows you to do is you know, we're going to come into, let's just use this for an example, we're going to come into this part of the box, and then we're going to split off to the KC lights, you know, right and left of the car. So you can basically make all your connections in there. These are some components that basically they're called like lever, and you basically just flip the lever up and put your wires in there, and they do do up to like 10 gauge, I believe, is what the max is. But since I know they're definitely rated for 12 gauge, and yeah, that's going to make it really nice, because we're just going to come in with our main feed, and then we can add an additional 4 lights. Now they make these in all different configurations, so this is, you know, being a 5 lever, they make them in 2, 3, 4, all kinds of different configurations. So it's a pretty neat product. The thing about this though is that it's not really weatherproof. And you know, I don't know that they don't advertise this as weatherproof, but I know it's not, because I mean, obviously nothing is sealed there, and this is just a similar polarity, so this would be ground or positive. But since we are going to just use these inside the junction box here, and you know, come in with our connections and make our connections there, it's not going to be a problem that it's not weatherproof. So that's kind of the beauty of it. And these little junction boxes have a nice silicone seal all around them, and it kind of reminds me of like the military. You know, in our tanks we had junction boxes like this that our electrical connections were made, and you know, and also on the sub, and you know, just other type of places where you have a surface mount junction box. So pretty nice product. Got both of these products on Amazon, so we're going to put them to the test, and then just like I said, we're also going to use these to make our connections for our lights. So what we're going to do is we're going to have these, you know, mounted like in this fashion up on our Baja rack, runner, you know, Baja runner type rack, where we're gonna have our 4 6-inch Rigid Industries lights up there, and this is how we're gonna make our connections. So there'll be 3 of these up there, and it'll make more sense when we do that install video later on how exactly you can go about having 3 of these up here. Obviously the 2 center, the secret is the fact that the 2 center lights are pretty close to each other, so you really just need 1 of these for 2 of them. So yeah, alrighty, well let's get started with the actual routing of the wire up to the KC lights for the dome lights, and we'll see how these little junction boxes work out. I just wanted to show you them in a better light and kind of explain the components, so that if you hadn't seen these before, you would know what they are, and they are new to me too, so we'll see how they work out. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about what we're doing here with these junction boxes and this lighting. And you think maybe this might be overcomplicating things, but actually I'm pretty excited about this. I think this is going to work out extremely nicely. I ended up deciding to just kind of make it a practice to put a junction box pretty much at each of the lights, unless I can feed them directly from another one, just because it does give me options. But I do want to give you some details also on well, let me back up. Options meaning adding additional lights. So I'm going to put, I could easily, because there's 2 dome lights, imagine a dome light, let me back up here, a dome light here and a dome light here. Obviously I could run wire in here, and then this obviously feeds the dome light, and then this could easily just go over and feed the other dome light, correct? But if I put 2 junction boxes, if I want to turn that junction box and basically plug it off, I can make it so that this junction box can actually just have a wire come in, and then I can tap into these blocks here, and we'll talk about more of these later here in a little bit, to add an additional dome light. So say I do want to add one for the driver, so that's where I can do that. I can add an additional one for the driver, so that the driver will have even additional light. So that's what I'm going to plan on doing. I think these work out so good that it is worth the extra expense. Now, one thing that is a downside to these is they do not have any mounting tabs on them, which I really think that's something they severely overlooked is, you know, basically on the sides here, or one on each side, would have been nice to have a mounting tab so that you could run a screw through there. So what I'm going to do is, and obviously if this ends up being a problem, I will take this video down, but I am going to try to use some of this 3M very high quality clear double-sided mounting tape. This stuff is pretty relentless. I have not had any issues at all with it holding objects in different various locations and conditions, and so I think it's going to work out pretty good. The only wild card to that is I am thinking about how the fact that the top of the roof is black, and that it will get pretty hot during the summer months when the sun is beating down on it. But I think this stuff almost even becomes more gooey and more adhesive when it does get a decent amount of heat to it, so within reason, obviously. So these connections here are freaking awesome, and the caveat with them is that it needs to be somewhere where that it's watertight. Now you basically throw these levers in the upright position, completely in the upright position, and then you slip your wire in there, then you throw the lever down. And you know, I'll probably, for maybe some extra insurance, maybe run a piece of black tape around them, just you know, but I don't know, that's probably overkill, because then that's just something you have to undo if you ever take the cover off. And then as you can see, they fit down in here extremely nice, and the cover is domed, so it even gives a little bit of you know, protection there. Now I might end up deciding that I do want to maybe tape some things up, just kind of, or zip tie things together to kind of keep them from moving around, but that's going to be easily done. So I will tell you that, so for this diameter, this will accommodate a lot of different diameters, but this wire here I did have to take out. There was a rubber insert, but I almost consider that as like a reducer, and that was in here for like a smaller gauge wire. If you take that out, this kind of spirals down and crimps down on it, and it makes a fairly watertight seal. I'm very confident of that. The one thing though that you can obviously do is use your you know, let me show you this Super 33 Plus. This is the only electrical tape, in my opinion, that you should ever use. Never use like the cheap stuff. Made in the USA, and it is absolutely the best stuff that you can buy. You can get it for $3 a roll, which is even better. On Amazon at times, even not really on sale, you can find it for no more than $5 shipped to your door. So good deal. So that is the stuff. And if you start here at the hub and you go around and then you spiral down, and then, you know, it looks good, and it's very watertight. That is a very watertight setup. Obviously this is going to be under roof, but our other lights that we're going to have mounted up on the roof rack will be fully exposed, and then we will be using these for our chase light hookups also. So one of the things, this is 3-wire, so the chase lights will have a dome function to them, but the interior chase lights that are going to be like amber, I think maybe I have that, no, yeah, the interior two that are going to be amber, and the outside chase lights are going to be red, they're going to be rigid chase lights. I'm going to actually run the when I run the wires up, I'm going to already have that in mind, to have that, you know, already additional wire to run for the other color. So and the reason for that is because, not to get into the chase light discussion too much, but it just kind of shows you the benefit of running, you know, this type of wire, where you can run 3-wire, sort of like in the household, where if you have like a dual switch fan or something like that, is that you can run multi-purpose runs. And so the reason, let me go back to my original thought, because I am kind of rambling on here a little bit, but the original thought there is that one of those will be triggered on the Switch Pro, and that trigger will come from our brake system. So we will tap into our brake lights, and that will be a positive trigger, a positive voltage trigger that you can set up in the Switch Pro very easily. That will be that pink wire that we coiled in the previous installation video, where and if you haven't seen that, check that out in the Switch Pro installation. That will be our trigger wire for our chase light red. So those will come on basically a dual third brake light in the back, so that'd be good. People will be able to see us better, and especially if it's dusty out on the trail, people will be able to see us when we hit our brakes better. So that's a down the road project. I don't think I'll be doing that necessarily this year. Possibly, I doubt it, but see if I get bored. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah. So the reason why I mention all that is because you should be thinking ahead, and we're going to some pretty extreme measures here to basically make our electrical correct. I will tell you that I watched a video yesterday, and that video was somebody showing how to do electric on the Maverick X3, and I'm not going to say who it was. I feel like reaching out for them, but it would be actually an insult probably to them. I can't see them taking it kindly at all, because it was crazy. I was showing my wife, and I mean, it was just a spaghetti of wires just everywhere. And that's why I'm doing these videos. Is not that saying that my way is the best, but I can tell you that I'm very confident that what I'm showing you is better than some other people are showing you. So let's just put it that way. So that is why I'm doing these videos, and I'm sharing the details with you and hope that you will find them useful. So alright, well, moving on, I wanted to show you this in daylight so that way you absolutely could see it in the details of what I'm doing here to make these little junction boxes very useful and waterproof. Alright, so let's summarize the dome light install here. So these junction boxes, and actually I need to go to the back to show you here properly, sorry about this. The junction boxes worked out pretty good. I use a bungee to keep these doors open, and I'm pretty happy with it. They maybe it's excessive, I don't know, I think it's going to be good though for like adding stuff and tapping off stuff. As you can see them there, and also there, I had to get creative on kind of making like a strap hanger, which would be nice, to be able to take it down. So, and I ended up electing just to, even though I know these LEDs are probably never going to go bad, but I did elect to just basically use the quick connects that are somewhat waterproof, and this is going to be, nowhere near water as far as under, cover, and probably one of the driest places on the car will be the underneath side of the roof. So, and then there's another junction box over there. So we literally have 3 junction boxes. This one has an additional lead coming into it, so we'll be able to tap into that to power the chase lights. And what we'll be powering is actually the brake function, and I'll tap into the pink trigger wire as I've talked about before, and then they'll be on all the time utilizing the rear fuse box, so they'll always be on when the car comes on, just like the taillights do. Not the brake lights, but the taillights. So one of the things about these junction boxes is that when they're inverted like this, you don't really want to drill a hole into the top of them, because then water can come into them. But when it comes to the roof rack, I'll be able to do that. It won't be a problem to drill downward and then maybe put some silicone in there to seal them off real good. One of the things that you can do though that I did not do, and I originally thought I would do, is put like a plastic backer and double side tape a plastic backer to them to actually give them some mounting tabs, because that is one of the big flaws of these, is the lack of the mounting tabs. So let me show you a little bit about where and how I routed the this 3 12 gauge wire that I have here. And obviously one's ground, and then one's powering the dome lights, and the other one's going to be for the chase lights that's going to run down the passenger side of the car to the rear tire carrier. So I basically used some sheet screws, and as you can see, use those plastic holders it came out pretty good. One of the cool things though, and I think this is because of like maybe the stereo system, the roof stereo system, that I'll never invest in because it's just way too expensive in my opinion for the roof. You know, there's better stuff to spend money on. Obviously I've invested a lot in this car, but I can't see spending that. I like my music, but not that much. That is a expensive accessory that BRP offers. And then it goes down this channel here on the B pillar. So that's pretty cool. It just like, hopefully you can see that. It just basically makes its way right in there in that channel. And then continuing down here to the floor, once again used some of those hangers and sheet screws, and then made this corner, and then went across this cross brace, and then popped up to put the switch probe. And then you can see we have those 2 coiled wires there. If you didn't see the switch pro video, that's the pink wire for the trigger, so that'd be the brake, and we'll be able to put that for the chase light brakes to light up. We'll tap into the brake trigger somewhere, probably the brake pedal. I know people pull off, if you know, depending on how you're doing this, I could see how you could, you know, do it back there at the brake light, but I think we'll probably end up pulling off the brake pedal. I think there's signal there, so we'll be able to do that. And then that green wire will be our future hookup to the Switch Pro that I don't have hooked up currently. So, all right, I know I've you know, kind of gave you about 10 different ways to maybe understand some of the strategies that's going on here as far as wiring and how we're going about it. If you have not seen the fuse box, the Ford electrical video in a previous video, make sure to check that out. There's the fuse box that we wired in there. We have a video that shows you how to wire in the rear fuse box, the relay there, and then also we have a relay, or a video that is for the cutoff switch. So let me show you the dome lights turned on. I think that's what most of you have stuck around, or maybe even fast forwarded here to the end to see what the end result was. So I did not know how bright these were. These are the diffused KC Highlight Cyclones is what we are working with, in case I did not talk about that in the beginning. I don't think I did. I think I just said dome lights. So this is specifically to look at them. You can obviously Google it. These things are bright, so no worries there. So we'll turn the car on. As you can see, the Switch Pro, we have switch number 1 is for the dome. And I talked about all this before turning the car on, because the S&B particle separator does make a little bit of noise. And then we'll turn the dome lights on, and I really don't need to hold the flashlight anymore. Man, that is awesome. Those things are super bright. So I had originally thought maybe I'd get 4 of these and put one above each seat, and I'm pretty happy that I did not do that, because that would have been even more overkill. They're already like overkill. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. You know, you can obviously, you'll be able to see your lap, everything in the car, front and back. So that, I think that's a good location for them too. And now the way that I mounted those, let me turn them off here a second. So there's like a screw, and these have like a hole right in the middle of them, so kind of get yourself familiar. But here in the roof rack, there's a T30 screw that holds the front half and the back half of the roof rack together. And if you take that T30 screw out, you'll be able to run that T30 screw minus the washer, which you don't need the washer anymore, because you basically have a big washer now. These KC Cyclones are they're aluminum housing, and they're pretty stout. So it's actually like, basically now it's a big washer. So yeah, you don't need that anymore. So yeah, let me turn them back on again, and kind of give you an overview of what everything looks like here. And yep, it's looking pretty good. I turned the headlights off, so it just acts like, well, no, they must come back on when you turn the car off. But yeah, looks pretty good. All right, folks, I know this one was a long one, and I rambled on as usual. Maybe you just have this as background noise when you're working or whatever. That's kind of how I do sometimes when I'm listening to videos. But All right, well, take care, be safe, make sure to hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell. Looking forward to some warmer weather as it is freezing here in Ohio, and I've been managing to get some work done on this thing because next thing you know it's gonna be riding weather, but it's been a struggle with the temperatures, and so a lot of this I've been going in the house, do wiring harnesses as best as I can, and then come out and then plug them in basically. So that's kind of been the strategy. So looking forward to some warmer weather. All right, everybody, take care and be safe.